Hello YouTubers, Adam Guy here from Aguystudios and welcome to this video. In this video I am going to be teaching you sort of like beginner's level, basically how to start and use, fly, cruise and land, basically how to use the Airbus A320 Neo in the brand new Microsoft Flight Simulator. I did this video before on FSX with the Aerosoft Extended X Airbus. Obviously this is a little bit different where this is a base aircraft that's built into the game. This isn't a payware product, from a third-party developer. This is actually built into the new Flight Simulator, and it's actually quite detailed considering to the level they've gone for a free plane in theory. Obviously it doesn't quite have a lot of the features of the Extended X, but you wouldn't expect that, as that obviously costs £30 to £40 for that aircraft for FSX. So I'm going to be doing this video in sort of a few parts. The first part of the series, should we say, for this Airbus will be basically starting the aircraft, well, not starting it, but basically getting the aircraft fired up, getting the aircraft, having power going, getting the aircraft self-sustained, making sure your baggage is loaded, all that kind of stuff, and also importing your route. The second part of the video will then be taxi and takeoff, and also climbing up to cruise altitude. And then the third part will then be our landing the aircraft, so descending from cruise all the way down to final approach into obviously landing. So without further ado guys, let's dive into this video and let's have a look around the Airbus and see what we need to do to get it basically alive, would be a good way to put it. I'm just going to let my frame rate settle down. I do find with this, I'm loaded in at Gatwick, if any of you are wondering where I am. Sometimes it takes a little minute or two just for my frame rate to settle down, and as you can see it's pretty much sorted itself out now. So right, as you can see we are in cold and dark, nothing in the aircraft is turned on, everything is off. It's as if you've just basically got into it pretty much. So I'm going to go through this relatively quickly, but slow enough that hopefully people can keep up. Obviously pause the video if you need to, or send me a message in the comments or anything like that if you're not quite sure what I've done or why I've done it. Obviously I do state as always before any of these flight videos, I am not a real pilot. This is not my real job, this is just a hobby that I do. And I've obviously spent the time to learn this aircraft and then obviously teach it to you guys as simply as I can to try and help you get in the air. There will be things that I will miss, there will be things that I do out of order, so don't grill me in the comments below, but obviously appreciate that I'm trying to get the beginners, basically people that have just bought this game, they've got the Airbus, they want to try and add a little bit of realism instead of just taking off with everything already turned on, and they want to try and get it going on their own. Obviously one of the achievements in the game is to actually start the Airbus manually, which by watching this video you will be able to do. So without further ado, let's get some power in and get it going. So the first thing we need to do is come up here to this panel, and you'll see here we have BAT 1 and 2, so we need to turn them on, which are obviously our batteries. Now ground power is already available, but I think that's a bit of a bug because actually we need to call a ground power truck. So the way to do that is to come up to this little drop down icon, come over to ATC, come down to ground services, tune to Gatwick ground, and request power supply.
Gatwick ground EJU 1123, could you please send a ground power unit? EJU 1123, a ground power unit is on the road.
So what that's done is basically sent a power truck to us. Now the power trucks pretty much spawn instantly next to you, so within 2 seconds almost the truck's connected and you have ground power ready to go. Now normally what you would do from here is to request your fuel supply, but for the purpose of the video we're going to leave it as we're not going to do that, and the reason for that is when this aircraft loads, it automatically loads with 10 kilos of fuel. Now that's more than enough for what we're going to be doing on our flight. Obviously if you are going for a longer distance you would want to check that and alter that in the panel where you select your aircraft, I believe, or alternatively you can do it this way. Some people do it just to make it look more realistic, I guess, but we're not going to do that. So now obviously we've got a power supply on us, we're now going to request baggage,
Gatwick ground EJU 112 could you please send the baggage? EJU 112 baggage is on the way.
So we've got the baggage coming to load, obviously everyone's baggage is up. We're going to get the jetway.
Gatwick ground EJU 112 could you please connect the jetway to the aircraft?
You'll see this will now start to
EJU
link itself up
112
to
the
us.
jetway is going to be connected.
Catering.
Gatwick ground EJU 112 could you please send the catering truck? EJU 112 the catering truck is on the road.
I don't know if you guys heard a little beeping noise there. That's just this light here, and that's basically just to say that things have been connected to the aircraft. So obviously we have our jetway, our catering, our baggage, and our power. The only thing we haven't worried about is fuel. So we can just go ahead and close that for a minute. And if you guys want to have a look what that looks like, just come out to your external camera. As you can see, we are flying the EasyJet today. So sort of short haul flight. I love these skins. There's a skin pack that you can get for the aircraft now, and it's got loads, over 200 skins. I like the EasyJet one for the moment, and that's what we're going to go with. So back to the aircraft. Waffling on. So obviously, first thing we've done is we've got our batteries on up here. Then we've done all of our ATC, so baggage, power, etc. From then, what we're going to do is come over to this button, turn external power on, which you'll hear like a noise as sort of the aircraft kind of fires itself up a little bit. Then what we're going to do is, you see you have these lights along here. I'm going to turn these off, like so. So basically what we've done is we've turned the batteries on, external power's on, and we've now done our fuel pumps and stuff like that. So we're going to come down to this panel, select nav lights on and beacon lights on. And also we are going to go APU master switch on and start the APU. What that is a small engine on board the aircraft which basically generates power, which also helps start the engines. It just basically means the aircraft can sustain itself. So now that the aircraft is kind of alive and turned on, the next thing that I would normally do is come down to this control panel, make sure that our parking brake is still on. These are up and 0, and our speed levers are set to 0. And then this is set to normal, basically in the middle. If it's at night time, you can turn your instrument panels on, your lights on here. But it's a daytime flight. I'll leave it on a little bit, but it's not really necessary. Also, if you turn this switch on here, this is your terrain switch. So basically, this will allow the aircraft to let you know if you're flying over any terrain that's getting rather close, basically. So what we're doing now is come down to setting the actual aircraft up, ready to fly. This is the FMC. This is the main computer which tells the aircraft where it is, what it needs to do, where it needs to go, where it needs to land. Everything basically runs through this FMC. So this is obviously the main part of setting the aircraft up, really. Once this is done, the rest of it's kind of self-explanatory. So what you do is come over to the init page here. Now up here you have from to, so basically you put your departure airport / arrival airport. So for us it's EGKK, which is London Gatwick, / LFAT, which is Paris Prague, I believe, in France. So it's right on the border. It's not a very long flight, it's about 15-20 minutes. And this is obviously a flight that I've done in my previous video as well, so it's a nice quick flight, but it just gives me time and opportunity to show you guys how to do things. So once you type this in here, you then select this here, give it a second, it will load up this page. All you need to do is hit return. Basically what this page is this page is technically a preset flight plan. So if you'd already done this route and you'd had everything set up, it would show here. You can select it, which you can do in the extended X version. I'm not sure if you can do it in this version. And then obviously you'd select that, and it would basically mean it would skip all the next parts that we're going to do. But obviously we don't have a flight plan saved, so we're going to have to do it all manually. So we just hit return. So what that will do is load this in. So your screen should look like this. What we're now going to do is type in 25 for our cost index, which is basically the cost for the airline. We're going to type in, because this is only a quick flight, we're only going to go up to 15,000 feet. We're going to type in just 150 here, flight level 150, hit that, which will change that, and that's pretty much the init page done. Now what we'll do is come to performance 2, because we're going to be using flaps 2 to take off, and type in there. I don't know what this is meant to be, I'm not sure, I can't remember doing this, so I'm just going to leave it basically and skip forward from there. So once you've done that, got 2 flaps, you then go to flight plan. This is basically the main flight plan. This shows every bit of detail, every bit of detail on where the plane's going from to where it's landing, etc. So we are going from EGKK and we are landing at LFAT, which is Paris Prague. So what we're going to do is click here, so that's from. Now I know that I'm going to depart from 26 left. For this video I'm not using ATC. So if any of you guys scream at me about ATC, I'm not doing a video on ATC. This is generally getting the plane started and pretty much in the air, is what this is. So we're going to go to part, runway 26 left, and I know that our star, or SID, sorry, is DVR. Here. So we click that and hit insert. So basically what that's done, if we can come up to the computer, is told the aircraft to take off from 26 left, turn right, and bank round up this way. If we actually come up and turn this to plan, we can see, scroll out a little bit, we can actually see the points of the way the aircraft's going to go. So first point, second point, third point, fourth point, fifth point, 6, 7, 8, which is where it's got to LFAT, but obviously it doesn't know anything from there. So what we'll then do is come down to LFAT, hit arrival. So basically where we're not using ATC, we can preset all of this up. 9 times out of 10 we'll do this in the air, but we're going to do it on the ground just for purposes of setting the whole aircraft up ready for you to fly. Once that's done, so we're going to pick runway ILS 13Y. Don't know why we're going to go for that. Now we're going to look for our SID, or star, sorry, the wrong way around, which is DVR. So we click on DVR, and now it's giving us some options here. So if you look, it's telling us which kind of ones do which ones. So if we click on this one, hit insert, it should give us our flight plan now. We'll just get a good camera angle so we can see it, so it does. So if I flip through, you can see what the aircraft is going to do. So it's going to basically go bank round over itself, come back and land. Perfect, which is what we want. Just need to make sure we have a decel in there as well, which we do, which is going to tell the aircraft where we're going to be slowed down. And that is basically it for the FMC part, the easiest part. There are more things you can do, but that is basically the basics. Once you've got that point and you've got a full route as you've just seen here, obviously make sure, I like to leave it on arc. What we'll then do is come up here to this panel, hit flight direction switch on, make sure we set our altitude to 15,000 feet because that's our cruise, and leave it for the minute. We don't need to touch anything else, just make sure that you have 3 dots in a circle, 3 dots in a circle, this dot and circle, and loads of dots there. That's all you need. So we are basically ready to go. Just checking. Yep, we are. So obviously by now our baggage and catering and stuff should be done. So we won't have to cancel them. I believe they automatically do that on their own. So we come up to ATC. So we don't need to request anything now. All we will need to request is jetway disconnection.
Gatwick Ground EJU 112 could you please disconnect the jetway from the aircraft?
So we are ready to go. First thing we need to do now, before we do push back and start engines and stuff, is make sure that our APU bleed up here is turned on, like so. And you'll hear sort of like an airflow noise, which is basically, that's kind of spooling the engines, getting them ready to fire up. So what we can now do is give them a second or two and basically request pushback.
Gatwick ground EJU 1123 requesting pushback. EJU 1123 pushback request accepted.
So obviously we'll release your parking brakes down here. Turn this to the right for start. And as soon as we start to get pushed back, I like to drop my flaps down to 2 and activate my speed brake. And now I've done them. Let's give it a minute, it's just connecting itself up, I believe. There we go. So, flaps 1, 2, push that forward, and start engine 2.
Gatwick ground EJU 1123 requesting pushback tug to steer the aircraft to the right. EJU 1123, your request has been transmitted to the operator.
So obviously on this we need to tell the operator which way we need to turn the aircraft, this, that, the other. So with us we're just going to get him to turn us round until we kind of line up with this line here, and then we're going to hit stop. But remember there is a tiny bit of a delay, so you want to make sure that you are a bit ahead. Sort of think around now.
Gatwick ground EJU 1123 requesting the end of pushback.
So as soon as it stops,
EJU 1123 request to end pushback received.
hit parking brakes. Now we can close this for the moment. Make sure to put our taxi light on. Strobe to auto. Engine 2 is stabilised, so now we can start engine 1. We're literally just waiting for the aircraft to fire itself up now. As you can see down here, this kind of gives you an indication. Engine's sitting stable, it's not moving anywhere, it's not fluctuating. Just gives you the idea that the engine's stable. So what we'll do is we're just basically waiting for this to fire up. This will now sit level, so engine 1 is basically stable. So once that's stable, you turn this switch down here to normal, so it's level again. Come up to your panel up here, turn your APU bleed off, your APU master off, and your APU start off. Make sure your taxi light is set to taxi and you're ready to taxi. So guys, that's the end of this video. Obviously for the next video we will be doing taxiing, takeoff, climbing up to cruise, and then the following video, which will be the last one in the series, will be obviously finally landing. So I hope you enjoyed this video guys, I hope you find it helpful, and please obviously comment, like and subscribe, and let me know if there's anything I missed, if I went too quick, if there's anything you would like me to explain a little bit more. But from now on, as long as you follow the steps I've showed you, your aircraft should be in this state and you should be pretty much ready to fly. If you're obviously following the flight plan exactly, then you'll obviously have what I have on my screen in front of you. So once again, thank you for watching guys, and I hope to see you in the next video.